Greetings, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today on today's webinar. My name is Cheryl Jennison DeProza, and I am joined by a wide cast of characters from our systems, sales, and marketing teams. And today they're going to be talking us through our brand new audio ecosystem. Lots of great information, some really cool products and features there. So they're just going to kind of give us the insights into everything new. But before we get into that, just a few items of housekeeping. As you can tell from all of these lovely webcams, we are not coming to you from the office in our usual controlled environments. We're coming to you from our homes. So if we do run into any sort of audio or technical glitches, please just be patient, bear with us. We will try to get through those as best as we can. But we think this information is too important to wait until we can get back in the office. So we're coming to you from our homes. Second of all, this webinar is being recorded and will be available for on-demand viewing. Usually takes us about a week to get the audio and the video edited together so it's nice and clean and pristine. But once it is ready and available, you'll be able to see it at shure.com/webinars. And that is a great site to go to. You can see all of our upcoming webinars there, and you can also see a lot of our past archived webinar sessions. So go to shure.com/webinars, and you can see all sorts of great learnings across a lot of great audio topics. And then lastly, as we go through the session today, if you have any questions, please feel free to type those in the question pane. If you don't see the question pane and you're logged in through the web, just look for a circle with the question mark and click on that, type in your questions there. If you are logged in through the desktop app, the GoToWebinar sort of applet, look for a dark gray toolbar with an orange box that has a white arrow on it. Click on that orange box with a white arrow and you should be able to access the question pane there. Ask any questions that pop into your head, but please be patient because we will be holding on questions until the end of the session. All right, that wraps up all the housekeeping. Let's get into the ecosystem. Take it away, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, thanks so much, Cheryl. And as you can see, folks, we have a full cast of experts here today, but Pete, you're here also. And I think we should kick this off by, we've been talking a lot about the Shure ecosystem for AV conferencing audio products. What exactly does that mean? If I'm a system integrator or a user, what does the ecosystem do for me? What are we talking about?
I think probably is, thanks, Chris, by the way. How are you? Good to see you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, so the ecosystem is super exciting. We're really kind of thrilled to talk about this and talk about the whole idea of everything kind of working together. And I think what we're showing here on the slides kind of tells us the formula of how that makes it possible. Because we're kind of merging three worlds, right? The whole idea of our network transducers, our Intellimix audio processing DSP, and then our software that kind of ties it all together, both for configuration as well as monitor and control. So, the whole idea of everything networked, everything knows that every other thing is in the signal chain is all meant to work together. It's designed with that in mind. Is really kind of lets us kind of elevate our game and allow to offer, really kind of an easy button to the integrator of sorts, having them, make sure that everything's gonna work. So if we'll go to the next slide, yeah. So this kind of hits at some of the benefits of what we're talking about when we talk about the ecosystem. And it covers everything from the whole idea of deployment when you're first deploying something to our integration with partners that we're going to hear about a little bit later. Relying on our legendary support model for product support if there is an issue. So yeah, there's a lot of different pieces to the puzzle here, right? So, but the ability of having that easy button really enables a really good experience.
Yeah, that's terrific. And I think with so much of AV these days involving getting different products to work together and to talk to each other, it's a lot more complicated than it used to be with just, a line level XLR output and, a couple of power supplies. There's a lot more contouring and customization that needs to happen. So anything that can be done to streamline that process so that you just plug things together and hey, it works. That saves everybody a lot of time.
Yep, completely, definitely.
Well,
I think. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, the other thing that's kind of makes this whole new world possible is also the idea of everything networked, right? I mean, but you are playing on in a field of of dependencies with regards to using a network to be able to make that happen. So you really have to make sure that you're playing properly with things, and also making sure that engagement with the network is that audio traffic is done correctly and managed correctly, which all of these devices are able to do.
Right. And that really is what enables people to take advantage of some of the benefits of networked audio, like, remote monitoring and, troubleshooting and things like that. So it does open up some efficiencies that not only make it easier to install and integrate a system, but also for the end user to just, use it and manage it on a daily basis.
Right. Exactly.
Well, you mentioned transducers, so I want to start there, and let's bring Rob Clegan into the picture now, because Rob, you can't get very far without a microphone. So let's start at the top of the food chain, the audio chain, or I guess we like to call it. The MXA710 is our newest solution. By now everybody's probably used a 910 ceiling array microphone or a 310 table array mic. But the 710 is a different form factor, a linear type. Why do we need a third choice? What sort of possibilities does that open up for us?
Yeah, well said, Chris, and thanks for having me. Glad to be here, everybody. So the MXA710 is our newest Microflex Advanced microphone. We're really excited about some of the problems that this can solve for people in the AV conferencing space. Specifically, what we tried to solve with this were to create some new opportunities that customers were asking us about, that maybe the 310 or the 910 weren't originally designed to solve. Those products have been out for 4 years. They've been really well received, award-winning, very exciting. But customers would regularly ask us, they would say, hey, can that 910 go on the wall? I really need a wall solution. Or often customers would come to us and say, I wanted to use the 910, but my architect didn't like it for the new type of ceiling they were designing. It was a very architectural ceiling. I couldn't fit the 910 in that space. Lastly, customers would come and say, I wanted to use the 910, but it was for a small room and I just didn't have the budget that I would normally have for maybe a medium or larger size room where I could use the 910. So those are kind of some of the key reasons why we developed this MXA710. And we do call it a linear array because it really is designed to work anywhere in the room. It can go on the wall, as you see here in this image, horizontally. It could also be vertically. It could go on the table, or it could be from the ceiling. So you can see some of those images here as well. So it's really versatile in terms of where it can be installed in the room.
So this is an interesting form factor, but it makes it a little trickier mentally for me to figure out, like, so where do the polar patterns or the sensitive areas of the mic stick out from? How many are there? How do I aim those or point those around the table? So let's talk a little bit more about the electroacoustics of it, so to speak.
Yeah, so the MXA710 does feature the same great steerable coverage and autofocus technology and Intellimix DSP that the MXA910 has. And the good news about the 710 is that it's actually really simple, really easy, really fast to get going. For example, when you take the 710, it's ready to go out of the box in a wall horizontal orientation. And that's what you're seeing here. We do offer two versions. We have one that is roughly 2 feet long and another one that's roughly 4 feet long. With the longer one, you can have up to 8 steerable lobes. With the 2 foot, and that's the image you're seeing here, you can have up to 4. What you're seeing on this page is actually the default out of the box state where you have 3 wide lobes that are steered. So kind of center, left, and right, if you will, to pick up that room. You can then steer those in the plane of the microphone. So horizontally, left to right, you can steer them up to plus or minus 90 degrees. If this were vertical, then you can steer it up or down. So for example, if you had the microphone high on the ceiling, you can steer the pickup down at the participants and then reject from the ceiling. So you can really do a lot, but it's really easy. And we've made this really fast and simple to set up. So when you go into Designer our software and you add the 710 to your design, it's going to ask you how did you install it, and you can just simply choose wall, ceiling, table, horizontal or vertical, and depending on what you pick, it's going to deploy the pre-configured recommended lobe settings, so you can get going really fast out of the box.
Now, you mentioned mounting it to the wall or suspending it from the ceiling. What kind of hardware is involved with that? And do I get that stuff in the box, or, do I have to improvise? How's that work?
Yeah, so we've developed a lot of great mounting accessories. Included with the box, you get a wall mount bracket that allows you to mount it to drywall, for example, whether that's on a wall or even a drywall ceiling, you can mount directly to that. We also have some suspension eyelets that come in the box, so you can bring wire rope and hang it down from the ceiling. So that's what comes with the box. There are a number of optional accessories as well. We'll have some flush mount accessories if you actually want to mount it in a table or in a drywall wall, for example. We actually have a desk stand if you just want to put it on a credenza or something like that. We even have a microphone stand adapter for kind of temporary applications. So there's a lot of different ways to mount this, and a lot of different surfaces and places in the room where you can place it.
That's great. Well, Rob, thanks for telling us about the new MXA 710. And of course, all the specifics are on the Shure website there with spec sheets and user guides and so forth if people need to see more details. That's great. Let's stay with transducers now, but let's go to the other end of the audio chain. I want to bring in Troy Jensen, and let's talk about the new MXN5C loudspeaker. And Troy, loudspeaker and Shure, not words that you would find in the same sentence, at least since the 1970s, I don't think. So let's talk about this. Why a Dante loudspeaker? Why a networked loudspeaker? First of all, let's talk about the big picture.
Well, we were looking to complete the signal chain, right? People who are looking at conference room audio want to see input to output and have some level of control over that. With having multiple manufacturers through that signal chain, it's hard to really determine who to point the finger at if you have a problem. This gives people a complete signal chain. It was very easy or obvious, if you will, to develop a network device because now everything in the conference space is pretty much category cable. The microphone, the DSP, and the loudspeaker. It can be powered either via PoE or PoE+. So if you have an existing switch, PoE is fine. You'll get a little lower sound pressure level out of the device. If you need maximum SPL out of the device, we'd recommend PoE+, which will give you another 6 dB over what you would get over PoE.
Now, I'm just looking at this picture on the screen here, and this is, it's a little hard to tell the size of this thing, but it definitely looks pretty low profile. This looks like it'd be fairly easy to fit it into a lot of different ceilings that have got some structure up there.
Yeah, 4-inch overall depth, which is great because you're competing for space, particularly in high-density urban areas where you've got conduit, HVAC, plumbing systems, sprinkler systems up in the ceiling, and often it's even hard to find space where you can put the speaker. So we really wanted to keep it to a single SKU as opposed to having a deep and a shallow version. Just made more sense to have one product in a shallow version, and it fits real easy. Typical blind mount. So we have both a pre-construction bracket, and as you can see in the photo there, we have a tile bridge for acoustical tile ceilings. So either way, it'll work in acoustical tile or a pre-construction bracket if you're doing a drywall ceiling. And it's a blind mount, so we have a couple of Phillips screws in the front of the device once the grill is off, which kick the dog legs out and hold it in place either tight to the tile bridge or to the pre-construction bracket.
Now, what I love about we're looking at that picture. I love that on the grill, I don't see a bunch of exposed screws or buttons or anything like that. That's very clean.
No, it's very clean. It's a monolithic grill. There's no trim ring, aesthetically acceptable in a variety of environments. It's also, the grill is held in place magnetically, so it's very easy to pull off. And the logo itself is held in place magnetically because a lot of times architects, interior designers, even end users don't want to see the product promoted on their ceiling. So it's very easy just to pull that logo off. and you don't have to worry about, in the old days, you had to use a screwdriver to pry off a plastic logo, leaving a little circular hole in the center. So it provides for a very nice, clean, monolithic look. And furthermore, the grill can be painted to match any interior finish that someone's looking for.
Great. So this seems like this is going to be a great solution that's going to be very easy to blend into my interior design, whether it's color or texture or, whatever the case may be. Very flexible.
Absolutely. And it gives you the ability to have one manufacturer from input to output on the audio side of your video conference system.
That's great. And that would also extend encryption, Shure audio encryption, from the microphone all the way through to the loudspeaker. So the whole pathway is encrypted then, right?
Absolutely. We have AES 256 encryption from the microphone to the DSP to the loudspeaker. And the other benefit too, Chris, is that all of this now can be monitored via system on, right? So the microphone, the DSP, and the loudspeaker, you can get a very good view of what's going on in the room from a distance by looking at it through system on.
That's great. Well, this looks like an exciting new option for system integrators who are, putting loudspeakers into rooms. Well, that's great. Well, thanks for telling us about the MXN5C networked loudspeaker. Now let's change gears a little bit and talk about some of the hardware in the middle. I want to bring in Michael Moore because even with all these fancy microphones and loudspeakers and processors and so forth, sometimes it's just about, I need to turn it off for a second so that I can talk to my colleague about something. And it's the little things that mean a lot, Michael. And this network mute button, I think, is a really clever and time-saving piece of hardware.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. So the network mute button, a little history on that, the speaker makes sense. We were in it at one time. We're back in it, the ecosystem. So how does that mute button fit into the middle of all this? And this actually came out of a lot of requests from our integration partners and our end users, even a couple years ago, 2-3 years ago, hey, you know what? I've got an MXA 910 in the ceiling, and I've put my P300 behind my monitors, and I just need a really simplistic button that's going to give me a mute at the right point in the audio chain and change my LED color on my 910 in the ceiling. Without a lot of extra parts, pieces, as well as additional programming hours. And this is where, with the power of the designer software, we're able to leverage this centralized platform that we can bring our network mute button into that software, along with even our Intellimix room application or a P300 and 910s, or the 710 that Rob talked about, or 310s. And have a very quick and easy way that does not require any type of certified programmer to set this whole system up. So it's a great button and easy to install.
Yeah, and a lot of people overlook that aspect of the configuration time required because, just to put that switch and that LED on the table carries with it the obligation for a back end of, somebody's got to program this and set it up and configure it and all that. And we've sort of just said, nope, forget all that.
Absolutely. It's very simple and easy. It's essentially a one line drag inside of the designer software. And if you're not using it specific to the Shure ecosystem, if you already have a larger control system in a room, or you want to leverage the power of what is essentially a networked logic button with TCP/IP third-party control strings, you can actually use this button right now in an existing system and wire it in to maybe be kind of like the easy button. You want to turn some monitors on. You want to initiate a call. You can program this button to do whatever you'd like it to do.
Well, let's talk about the mechanics here, because I do have to get it into the table. So what kind of hole, how does it mount, and what's going on underneath the table there?
Absolutely. I will give you a quick view of the device itself. So as you can see, it's a very simple device. This is your capacitive touch top surface. This is a 1-inch tube that's threaded, and it may look really familiar. So if you've got existing button mics in the table. This can slide right in if you need to do a quick microphone update where you may want to put a couple 910s or a 710 in, but add a mute button at the table. And this threaded tube connects on the bottom of the device with this cable for the power. And then this is all of your processing. And that then connects directly there with the RJ45 directly to your network. And it's as simple as that.
That's great. So basically, drill a hole, thread that black donut piece onto the bottom, plug in a couple of cables, and then it's just a few mouse clicks before I'm up and running. Now, what about the LED? Can I configure how that looks or when it illuminates like I can with, say, the MXA 310 or the 910?
Yes, all of the same color variants that you can find on the 910 or the 310 are available. So again, if you're using it for more than just a mute button, and you would like to have it in a, in a violet or a blue or a white state to show maybe a status of a room, you can program it to change colors as well. You can also configure it out of the box. It comes as a toggle, but you can also have a push to talk or a push to mute.
Great. So whatever sort of process my users are comfortable and have used before and familiar with, I can set it up to work that way so that it instantly is familiar to them.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's great. Well, this network mute button, I think, is going to show up in a lot of rooms. And of course, you can use multiples of them. So if you've got a long table, you can put 2 or 3 down the center of the table, whatever works well to keep it within arm reach. And the full details of that are on the Shure website. So if you need, CAD drawings or whatever, all that information is there. Well, Michael, thanks for joining us today and giving us details about this MXA network mute button.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, let's change gears a little bit and change gears from talking about hardware to moving over and talking about software. Shure's this is a product, Michael, that's all software. Michael Tabor's here to talk about Intellimix Room. And for once, this is a product where no drop test, no salt spray, no sweat, none of that. But it really is a whole different mindset as far as delivering DSP. So what is Intellimix Room? What's inside, the thing? What is it delivering to me?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, Chris, and thanks for having me. So Intellimix Room in a nutshell is software DSP. We've taken that processing out of the hardware devices and we've put it onto Windows 10 computers. It's a licensed piece of software that's offered in 2 versions, like a small version and a large version, or 8 channels of Intellimix processing versus 16 channels of Intellimix processing. And when you put that software on your computer, it not only becomes a Shure endpoint that is addressable and controllable via Designer, but it also becomes a Dante endpoint that can send audio to and from any Shure or Dante device that's sitting on that network.
That's great. So basically, I install this on the PC in the room that's also probably running my video codec or whatever, and then I just arrange my chosen Shure audio solution here. And if I've got 8 or 16 channels, I can handle multiple lobes coming from those different microphone solutions here, and then the loudspeakers and displays and so forth on the other side. What about using any of the connections on the PC itself? Can I integrate those into the equation too?
Yeah, absolutely. So that hardware that the PC has basically now becomes the hardware that Intellimix Room can utilize. So like in this diagram we may have on the screen here, you could take, for instance, that feed to the display, that HDMI output to the display, you could send your far end or your reinforcement straight from the DSP, straight from your codec call directly to that display. But obviously, in this diagram, we have that MXN5 loudspeaker, so we wouldn't necessarily have to do that. And one major thing that you touched on is that Intellimix Room is meant to run on the same computer as that software codec. It's kind of the hub of the system. You can see in this diagram, at smack dab in the center of that diagram, there's a computer running whatever codec you want, and it also is running Intellimix Room. And Intellimix Room and the codec are able to talk to each other automatically within that operating system. There's no USB cables or USB extenders that you need to enable a codec call.
Well, that's great. So with Intellimix Room, I get all the sound quality advantages of having, automatic mixing and acoustic echo cancellation and compression and limiting and equalization and all those great features that are in there. But I get rid of having another box and the space that requires and the powering that requires and so forth. So especially in small and medium-sized rooms where I'm trying to sort of avoid taking up a lot of space and having a lot of devices, this would seem to be a terrific solution. Now, can I deploy? How do I deploy this if I'm an IT person? How do I get this onto those computers in the rooms?
Yeah, so there's the normal way of installing software. It's just an executable that you would get from us that you can double click on the desktop of the computer and it would install, and it runs as a service in the background, always starting up when the computer starts up. But a great advantage of working in the software realm is being able to hand that executable over to an IT administrator, for example. If they're managing the 100 computers that are in the 100 conference rooms, they can push down Intellimix Room to all those computers at one time to drastically reduce the install and commissioning time of the system, as opposed to having to install boxes and pull wire and build racks for those boxes.
Yeah, especially in a lot of facilities where they're dealing with multiple conference rooms at the same time, which is many people now. You have 10, 20, 50 rooms. This would be a real efficiency multiplier here. So that's terrific. And then, of course, the licensing is all handled through Shure. So you just, click download and, purchase the license, and then that code just gets typed into an Intellimix Room, and then you're done.
Yeah, absolutely. You use designer software to activate your license. And, as I mentioned at the beginning, it is a Dante endpoint. There is no Dante license associated with that. We kind of take care of that on our end. And all you need is that license from Shure in order to pass audio through your application.
Oh, that's great. Well, thanks, Michael, for talking to us about Intellimix Room. I think that's going to be a great option for a lot of people. Now, I want to move onward here and talk about something that was on one of Michael's slides. There was the icons for Microsoft Teams and other video codec providers like that. Nuna Becik has been working on the partnership angle of this, and we've been talking a lot, Nuna, about partnerships and the fact that we're displaying these logos and things on our web pages for different products now. But how do these partnerships actually benefit end users and system integrators? What's in it for them?
Well, I think one element to where we need to actually start off is actually just mentioning that quality audio isn't only about making you sound good, but it's about engaging your audience. It's about Shure in general is always committed about creating the next generation of audio products with high quality collaboration in the workspace with our technology partners. So the way our channel partners and our end users actually benefit from such relationships is we're creating a high quality, and we are building productive solutions that we know already exist and work in the market. Not only that, but with these higher brands, you're ensuring that these are known brands that actually allow flexibility, scalability, and also quality within collaboration rooms. And a lot of end users now, they're always looking for certification products, like, for example, calling out Microsoft Teams, knowing that Zoom Rooms is certified, or even Cisco solution partners. So knowing that our products are compatible with such high brands actually makes it more applicable and more approachable for those end users.
That's great. Now, whenever you try to get two pieces of software or hardware to work together, there's always the thought in the back of your mind that, oh, what if this one won't talk to that one? How do we make sure that works smoothly? What do we really mean when we say that we're partnering with a company? It's not just about, oh, we get to put the logo on the website. There's more underneath. What's happening?
You're absolutely right. So there definitely is a lot more behind it. So I think we actually, with Shure's internal teams, there is a huge team that's dedicated in ensuring that there's compatibility around with these partners. So that means any video collaboration, any video partners that we work with, any hardware computers that we work with is we get our engineering teams together to ensure that the testing is actually done accurately in labs. That means that a lot of these solutions that are put out in the field is actually tested and it works properly. That's when you're able to take that shiny logo and put it on your product to say, hey, this actually has been certified by these specific codec partners, and it works very strongly.
That's great. And that means that if you ever do have an issue and you're talking to our award-winning tech support people, you'll never hear them say, well, we've never tried it with that before, because we've stress tested it in all the scenarios that we can conceive of.
Correct. Correct.
Well, that's great. Well, these partnerships are certainly just going to continue to grow as time goes on, with all the popular options that, people are going to be wanting to use to build their systems. So I'm looking forward to seeing where this program goes, because I think that's really a value added for our users and our install channel people. Well, thanks,
Absolutely.
Nuna, for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
All right. Well, Cheryl, I think we've kind of run the gamut here. We've talked a little bit about hardware, about software, about DSP. That there's a lot there, and I'm assuming we've probably gotten a few questions. Have people asked some things?
Yes, we do have some questions.
All right. Let's bring our full crew back on screen here, and then maybe whoever answers the most questions to get a prize or something.
I like it. I like it a lot. All right. So the first question I have here is a question for Rob. Rob, regarding the MXA710, how many elements are in the 2-foot version and in the 4-foot version?
Oh, great question. Yeah, so with the 2-foot version, I believe we have about 50 elements. Is that right? Somewhere around there. It's a lot. And with the 4-foot, it's not unlike the 910. It's a 3-digit number. I think it's around 100 or so.
All right. Awesome. This next question is for Mr. Michael Moore. Michael, do all of the MXA mute buttons work together? For instance, if I have 3 in a room and I press 1 to mute, do the rest reflect the mute state?
Yes, you can have multiple mute buttons controlling a single microphone, or you can have a single mute button controlling multiple microphones. We've tested, I think, what is it, like up to 30 in one location in Designer. So it's a pretty scalable piece. And you can also control, if you'd like, in applications where you may want a specific button to control a specific mic in an area of a room, where somebody may walk up to a collaborative interface and you just want a microphone to cover that area, you can assign a single button to a single microphone that may just be used during certain meetings.
Great. All right. Next, we have a couple of software questions. So you're up, Michael Tabor. Next question. This is a 3-part question. Does Intellimix Room work with Dante? Is it similar to DVS? And is there a limit to PC channels that can be pulled up in the software?
Great question. So yes, Intellimix Room does work with Dante. It actually has some Dante technology built into the application called Dante Application Library, or DAL. It is similar to DVS in the fact that it runs on a computer and it makes the computer a Dante endpoint, but it is a separate device on the network. You could actually have Dante Virtual Sound Card and Intellimix Room running on the same computer, and they would show up as 2 separate endpoints on the network. Last question. Yes. You can utilize one PC peripheral input and one PC peripheral output at a time. They don't have to be the same, for example, though. You could have, a USB input and an HDMI output or vice versa, but it is one in and one out.
Great. All right. Next question, also about software, Michael. Does the Intellimix solution allow for usage of a tablet controller for the PC to control the conference software?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really more of a question for the tablet and PC manufacturers out there. Like, for instance, the Crestron Flex system, comes with a Crestron touch panel that controls the NUC, or it controls the PC, or the Logitech Tap, a similar idea. basically, Intellimix Room is just a service running on a computer kind of under the scenes or invisible to the user. Any of those meeting controls would be provided by that codec provider or that PC manufacturer.
All right. And then another Intellimix Room question. What is the list price of Intellimix Room?
The list price of Intellimix Room, I don't know, are we able to talk about pricing?
I think it depends on region as well, but it is a license-based pricing structure. And I would say
I can give you the list price. Yeah, for a so we do offer Intellimix Room in 3-year and 5-year terms, both in the 8-channel and the 16-channel. So I'll give you 4 numbers. So for the 8-channel license, the 3-year term is, and this is US map pricing, it is $500 for 3 years. And for 8 channels for 5 years is $800 US map price. And then for the 16-channel or the large version, it is $850 for 3 years and $1,350 for 5 years.
So I hope you got all those numbers down.
Yeah.
If not, reach
That's why
out.
I haven't written down, so I don't have to memorize them all.
If not, just reach out to your local authorized Shure representative and they can help you out with the pricing in your region. All right. And then another Intellimix question. You're getting all the good ones today, Michael. Intellimix Room is a Windows 10 only software. Is there a Mac OS version now, or will there be one in the future?
There is currently not a Mac OS version. It is on the roadmap, but we have prioritized Windows over Mac.
All right. Next question for Rob. Is the MXA710 shipping?
Not quite globally available yet, but will be soon.
Great. Question for Michael Moore. Michael, will there be a version of the network mute button that does not require drilling into the surface?
We are always taking input of what our customers want. It is available. If you have the capability, it can be mounted to some sort of modular box if you did not want to drill the table, but we will definitely share that with the product team.
Great. And this next question is also about drilling. It's just kind of a general comment. Any future Wi-Fi mute? I'm not sure the total context behind that.
No, that actually has been asked before for wireless mute capability.
Great.
So again, I don't know that you'll see anything tomorrow, but we always like to hear what you want to advance that product line.
Great. Next question. Is there technical training offered on all these products? If so, where can I find it? And then related, I had another question about certification. Anybody?
Who wants to take that one? I can take it. Well, you definitely get through our Shure Audio Institute. That is that's a portal that's available through Shure.com, and those classes are soon to be posted and will be available for you and your teams to get certified on all these products.
Fantastic. And just to note, someone did ask if there was certification for this session. We don't offer certifications for our webinars, but there will be more official certification classes available. And just go to our website and look for the Shure Audio Institute to learn more. All right, let's see. Next question. Oh, this is more of a comment. You now have the entire signal chain. I'm eagerly awaiting you to enter the much-needed acoustic treatment of the room so you can guarantee the kind of sound quality that we're hearing from Chris. Very good. All right. I think that wraps up all of the questions we have. If you have a question that we didn't get to or that's just burning a hole in your mind and comes up later, you can always send that to us at shure.com/contact. You can fill that out. We have a great team of people. It'll be routed to the correct department and they will answer just about any question you have. So that's shure.com/contact. I want to thank everybody on the panel for joining us today. I want to thank everybody that logged in today. I hope you learned a little something about the ecosystem. I know I sure did. And we hope to see you on the next one. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.